start lying down on your mat in Shavasana. It's quite cold here actually, so if you need to grab something to put under you, you've maybe got carpets, the wooden floor is quite cold, so do put a blanket or something down. We'll be here for a few minutes. So this morning we're talking about pathways. I'm going to come with you in a second, but just while you're all getting down to the floor, we're talking about pathways, thinking of neural pathways particularly, which are quite in at the moment in yoga. There's a lot of talk about neural pathways and how yoga works with them. So I'm going to do 2 classes about them a little bit. And this is the first one, which is a bit less action because I put my back out the other day there, as you know. So we're going to lie down first of all and come to the mat. Bring yourself back into your body by closing your eyes off and bringing yourself back to you. I know you're already in that body, but we tend to jump out of bed and run about straight away, almost leaving the body at times it feels, because we're ahead of ourselves. But come back to being in your body and just finding your breath again. Connect to body and breath. And we're going to begin today at the far end of us by travelling down to your left big toe. Let's go to the left side for a change. So your left big toe. So travel down in your mind's eye, the root down to your big toe. Feel your big toe then and almost visualise it in your mind's eye with your eyes closed. So from that left big toe, then travel along to your ankle on the left side. And take one deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose if it's available, releasing the breath. And then just continue to breathe in between, but when we stop, we're taking deeper breaths in this practice at the moment. So then travelling from your ankle on your left side, in your mind's eye, travel up along your tibia and along your shin, or at the back on your calf, wherever you're going, to your knee. And stop at your left knee and take a deep breath, one deep breath. And release that deep breath from as far in as it's gone, taking it slowly. And then travel from your left knee up through to your left hip. And take a deep breath there. And then from your left hip, move across to find the base of your spine. So you probably, if you were in the front of your body, you have to switch almost to the back of your body. We relate more to the spine and the back of the body. Once you find your tailbone on your spine, move up a little bit. So if you imagine your tailbone, 2 or 3 vertebrae up, and stop there and take 3 deep breaths. 3 deep breaths and focus on that point, not quite at your tailbone, but at the base of your spine, where your spinal cord finishes. It doesn't go right to your tailbone, it finishes 2 or 3 vertebrae up. So take your 3 deep breaths, so I'm focusing on that point, and then let the breath go again. And hopefully you can now feel a connection from your left big toe right up your leg. It may seem a little bit more aware, you may be more aware of it than your right leg. So from the big toe right up through to that spot at the base of your spine. And we've just taken the pathway of one of our dorsal tracts, a pathway of nerves that move from the big toe on both feet and take all the messages back up to the brain through the spinal cord. So we're going to take another pathway now by going to the right big toe. From your right big toe, move to your ankle. Take one deep breath. Kind of getting the pattern now that we're doing. And after that deep breath, move up to your right knee. Stop there. Take a deep breath. And then move up to your hip joint or to your hip area. And take a deep breath there. And then trace across from your right hip, across to the same point at the base of your spine, where your spinal cord comes to an end. So we've just taken the path of another ascending track. We have 10 ascending tracks in the body that move these messages up through our spinal cord to our brain, and vice versa. But the ascending means they go up the way. So they're taking messages from your big toes. So now just wiggle your two big toes. And you know you're doing that because the message is going straight up to your brain. It's also giving the message down the way, but we won't worry about that one at the moment. These are the ascending tracks taking messages from peripheral nerves in you. So now back to both big toes. Take your mind down to both big toes. And go to the pad of the big toes on the back of your foot. And then trace along the back of your foot to your heel and your ankle on the back of you, on both legs. And take a deep breath again, focusing on the heel and the back of your ankles. And then move up the back of your calves to the back of your knees. And take one deep breath. And then move up the back of your hamstring or the back of your leg, whichever way you focus on it. And come to your glutes and the back of your hips. Take a deep breath. And then move from both hips towards that base of your spine again, to the bottom of your spinal cord. So the pathway you've just taken up the back of both legs is your sciatic nerve, which we will all have heard of, I'm quite sure, and some of you may have sadly have heard of it because of people having aches and pains with it. So your sciatic nerve travels up from your big toes up through to your spinal cord again. Let's take a few breaths here, focusing on that lower part of your spine. So the sciatic nerve hasn't just got one root, it's attached to several vertebrae at the bottom of your spine, 5 of them in fact. So there are tails coming out from there that then make one nerve down both legs. The sciatic nerve is the longest nerve in your body. It happens also to be the widest, largest nerve in your body. It's a flat, 2 centimetre wide stringy nerve that goes right down through your leg on either side, on the back of your leg. So when people get sciatic pain, it's often through injury or trauma. It can also, interestingly, be from stress. So sciatic pain can happen. I've spoken before about emotions and how your hips can hold your emotions and stress. Well, this proves what I've been saying in a way, because stress will cut off oxygen to that nerve, and therefore the nerve plays up because it's not getting the oxygen it needs to be healthy and run down the back of those legs. So that's one reason you might get sciatic nerve pain. Anyway, moving on from our sciatic nerve, our dorsal, posterior and anterior nerves. These 3 nerves are just 3 of the nerves that come up through your legs, carrying 86 billion neurons around your body you have, most of them probably in your brain, but neurons all over your body are the nerves that send peripheral messages from the peripheral parts of you. Touch, smell, motor senses, all the senses come from there. And it also sends the messages back to what you need to do then. Okay, so moving up to the top of the body, take the feet and just now move the feet in and bend your knees and take them hip width apart, just sitting comfortably on the floor and you're still on your back. Take your arms out then in a T shape that's shoulder height and reach out just as comfortably far. Have a little bit of a stretch through the shoulders. Don't go too far, particularly if you're hypermobile, haven't warmed up. Find your middle fingers, and let's do that process from both middle fingers, moving up through from your middle fingers to your wrists, and take one breath. And then moving on to the elbows, and take one breath. Moving up in that pathway to your shoulders, and take a breath. Finding that point then between your shoulders where the spine meets the shoulder girdle, and take a breath. And that's another pathway that we're taking. So it's not just your legs, obviously, you get a lot of senses from your fingertips. So this is more neural pathways running through you. Okay, so then take your feet, pop your feet together in Padhungustasana. So feet together, knees softly falling out to the side. And then take your hands and pop them, if you can, on either side of your head. If that's not available to you, see if you can lift your head gently and pop your hands under your head, just at the base of your skull there. And coming back to that point we just left off, find that spot in your spinal area, your spinal cord, if you imagine, between your shoulder blades, and then travel up from there to your throat and take a breath. And then from your throat, travel up to the right side of your brain. So going really inward now. Take a breath there. Go back to your throat and travel up to the left side of your brain. And take a breath there. And then come back down to your feet that are close together or actually touching each other. Press your big toes together if you can. Feel the pads of the feet, the toes pressing against each other. And then draw an invisible line or see the invisible line attaching your toes to your spinal column. So draw that line up through the middle there and find your spinal column again. In that spinal cord, very delicate thing, trace up then through to your chest. And then up through to your throat. And from your throat, move on to the back of your body and find that lump at the base of your skull where your spinal cord joins in through your vertebrae into your skull. So you might then want to move your hands under your head if you haven't already and find that the little dome at the base of your skull where your spine meets your skull. And then just take 3 breaths here to finish this body scan. So we're just following a couple of the many connections in our bodies. We have 100 trillion connections between all these neurons in the pathways. A lot of them again in the brain. Okay, so then we're going to start to move a little bit. I hear you cheering, Lorna. Bring your knees gently back up together. And then take your arms out to the side again. So feet are about hip distance apart, roughly here. You can take them wider if you want. We're just going to start doing some windscreen wipers. But start to think about moving from your big toe. So roll through your feet first of all. just gently through your soles of your feet from one side to the other. And then let the movement start to move up through to your knees, from your ankles up to your knees, and then maybe up through your thighs into your hips, and start to feel that movement through the base of your spine. You can feel a massaging effect there as you move slightly bigger through the windscreen wipers, take some bigger movements. And then moving up through your spine, see if you can start to take your head in the same direction. So that occipital lump at the back of your head, roll through it from side to side in the same direction as your legs. And then come back to neutral. And without too much thought, take yourself back into windscreen wipers and have your head go in the opposite direction as you roll through. So we talk a lot here about proprioceptions. Just continue to roll just a couple of more times. Proprioceptions, knowing where your body is and your spatial awareness, really a lot to do with it, and how to move your body in that space. So spatial awareness and proprioception is part of what is moving through those neural pathways. The body is saying where it is to the brain, and the brain's telling the body what to do. Okay, so then come back to neutral. Hopefully nobody feels too dizzy there. Open the eyes now and just draw your right knee in towards your chest. And everybody, I know some of you can't clasp your shins here, but everybody take the back of your thigh on your right side. And your other leg is a counterbalance here, so it can either be stretched out or it can just sit to the side, whatever you feel comfortable doing here. All we're going to do is then just squeeze that thigh gently towards you, opening up the back of the hip there, giving some space for the neural pathways to travel down through this area. So the more open your body is, the more open the pathways will be. And these are scientific pathways. They're not the meridians that we talk about, but actually they're very, very similar in the thought process. So opening these pathways. Okay, so then after the next squeeze, flex your right foot, the one that's up, and then just try and draw it up to be parallel. So opening up at the back of the knee so that the foot becomes parallel with the ceiling. Doesn't matter if you don't get that far. Just take it up as high as is comfortable. Your foot's still flexed, and you've opened it up the back of the leg a little bit there. You're still squeezing that leg in, so just gently give it another little squeeze in your thigh towards your body. So you'll feel a little bit more opening, possibly on the lower back here. Just be very gentle with this. But as we open this, we're allowing the nerves to move through. Your sciatic nerve, for instance, wiggles its way through all your muscles and through the actual hip joints, etc. Not joints, yes, joints. So there's a lot of areas that it can get trapped and other nerves pathways. Okay, so then take that foot down, plop that foot to the floor. I said pop, not plop. Take the other one, same thing. So if you need to stretch that right leg out first, then please have a bit of a stretch through to open it up if you need to on the floor. And do the same thing. So we're having a little squeeze first of all from the back of the thigh, bringing that hip opening feeling to the back of the left hip then. And then if you haven't already, I found I already did, flex the foot, draw the foot up to parallel to the ceiling, and then just draw it down towards you a few times. And if you want to then start trying to work with the breath, you're exhaling as you draw it towards you. So working the breath with the mind and the body here, which is yoga. And then pop the foot down. Have a little stretch through, because we're going to come up now to seated when you're ready. So stretching through and then rolling over carefully, coming up to Sirsasana when you're ready. Take your time, no rush. Still be talking probably. So these peripheral nerves that we're talking about, the ones round the outside of our limbs normally, are bringing electrical impulses into our central nervous system, into the spinal cord, which takes all the messages up the way. There's so much happening in your body all the time, and nobody really thinks about it as we jump out of bed, do we? Okay, so once we're in Sukhasana, take your arms and just give yourself a hug. And just remember which arm you've done it on. It doesn't matter which you start with. And then find the tailbone, sit up nice and tall, draw the tummy in. Draw the tummy back towards the base of the spine there. Tuck the chin slightly and then roll forward as you exhale. So find your exhale and roll forward gently. It doesn't matter how far you go, we're just opening up the back of the shoulders here really. So don't feel you've got to go into a full cat roll. Just hold here and take a few breaths. And maybe you can walk the hands slightly further around your shoulders to give yourself a slightly tighter hug. Maybe you can open up the back of the neck by tucking your chin into your arms, but make sure you can breathe. Any sensation that feels like you're opening too much, any sensation of discomfort or pain, move back up from any of these. Okay, we're coming back up, so draw the tummy in. Start to roll through and up from the base of the spine. As you inhale, bring yourself back up to the top. Open the arms out, give yourself a bit of a stretch. Open the legs out, give yourself a bit of a stretch. And then remember how you were and cross to the opposite side. So I always know where my legs are, but I never remember which one. If you do the same one again on the arms, you'll feel it. You'll feel you need to change and go to the opposite side. Okay, same thing. Find that length through the crown as you inhale, tuck everything in and roll forward gently and opening up. Slightly different feeling on both hips and both shoulders, because obviously we're putting the pressure slightly more through in a different direction through the opposite side of us here. You might find that one side was easier to roll into through your hips or your shoulders. Taking a few breaths here. And then engaging the tummy muscles, rolling back up as you find your inhale. Opening out, having a stretch. You can open out your legs and have a bit of a stretch if you need to, and then just come back into sitting cross-legged. Doesn't matter which way here. Coming back up to the top of us again now. So we're going to just gently do some neck movements to open it up. So just gently inhale tall, and as you exhale, look over towards your right side. Inhale there. Exhale back to center. Inhale, take it over to your left side. Move really slowly. Think of the crown sitting right above the top of the spine. Back to the center. Roll forward by tucking the chin and opening up the back of the neck. So just dipping the head, the shoulders are staying still. And then rolling up as you inhale. Don't crack the neck at the back, be very careful, but look up a little bit by tipping the chin upwards. So opening the throat, but not crunching the back of the neck. Take another one of those, just looking down again. As you exhale, rolling down and opening the back of those vertebrae in your cervical area. Cervical spine, very delicate, lots of weight here going up and down. And then come back to center. Take your ear, your right ear then, over towards your right shoulder, but try not to lean too much. Try and think of that closing down one side of your neck to allow the other to open. So it's still, the movement is still upward and then over. And then dip your head and take a very gentle semicircle roll, taking your left ear then over to your left shoulder. And back to the other side, but take it really easy as you roll through and open quite tight muscles in our neck, often, particularly when we've slept. We haven't moved the head an awful lot or done an awful lot with these muscles for a few hours. And then just gently come back to the middle as you're looking down towards yourself, and then thinking of your spine from the root upwards, lift up and open up the back of your neck again. So come back up to neutral. Take a few shoulder rolls then, very gently moving through your shoulders in both directions. Ooh, big crunches in my neck and back there. And the other way, remember to go both directions. And then taking your right hand and lifting it up, pop it over to the left hand side of your skull. So your fingers are pointing down towards your left ear. So when you do this, you'll have a tendency to pull your head over. Try and keep your head up and make your arm do the movement. So your arm goes over. I've said that word on arm. Okay, so your hand is over your left ear. And then you can extend this by putting your left arm on the floor if you want a bigger stretch, but you might want to start with it on your thigh. So we're reaching up in an inhale and we're just gently taking that armpit to hip feeling through the neck and taking the neck opening up the left-hand side here. And we're staying here for a second or two, so just be careful. Make sure you've got the agonist working, that side of your neck that's doing all the weight carrying here. You can take your arm down now if you want to, but you want to maybe try it and walk it out a little bit. You'll get a big stretch then down through the neck and into the arm and shoulder. And then slide your hand gently to the front of your head. So your hand is moved to the front of your skull. Or not the front, sorry, the side front of your skull. So the movement will have changed in the back of your neck. You'll feel the weight has moved into a different part. Just take a couple of breaths there. And then move the hand slowly, slide it to the back of the side of the skull. So we're just using the hand as a sort of weight, extra weight here. Take a couple of breaths there. And notice where it's moved to. That feeling has moved around the neck muscles. Lots of muscles in your neck holding this old head up. Okay, so then slide that hand over to the opposite side of your skull. Use the hand then to very slowly and gently lift that big old heavy head back up to the top. You must move slowly. It sounds like old lady stuff, but it's not. If you don't move slowly around your neck, you will regret it. Okay, so we're going to the other side. In between, you might want to just move your head very gently and slowly, just to release any tension you built up there. Okay, so then taking the other hand over. Make sure we don't bend over. Remember, try to make the hand do the work. In the middle, we're then just gently inhaling tall and exhaling and taking the head gently over towards your left side. Feeling that weight already moving through a different muscle group on the opposite side of your neck. Hand can be on your thigh or it can be out to the side if you want. And then slide the hand to the front side of your skull on the right hand side. Feel the movement move through, maybe more to the back of your neck muscles then. And then slide the hand to the back of the head. And again, it's changed. You might have been more aware of it at different points on your head, so that's probably where you're holding a lot of your tension and tightness. And then hand comes over to the other side and we gently lift that old heavy head back up to the top. Okay, so continue to sit, but we're taking our legs out a bit now. The left leg here is just your counterbalance. You can do what you like with it. You might want it straight, but you might want it left hanging out to the side, as I do often. Find your tailbone again. So find the base of your spinal column and sit nice and squarely on your hips so that your hips and your shoulders feel in line. And then lift your right leg up using the back of your thigh again, like we did when we were lying down. So you might have to adjust your balance here now on your sit bones. And draw that thigh in towards you again. And then begin to circle and flex and point your toes. Just moving and opening through the ankle. Might be a bit creaky. Mine is. I seem to be creaking all over at the moment. Oh, that was a big crack. Cracks are good. It's just loosening off stuff that has got stuck in the joints, basically. Okay, so here, keeping that foot up and flex, see if you can walk your hands down. Now, hold wherever you can. You don't need to do the full thing here, but if you can, take your middle and index finger on the right hand and pop them between your big toe and your second toe. So you're holding your big toe. So this is seated Padhungustasana. We did this the other day standing up. And then we're just gently going to move the heel out. So you straighten your leg a little bit. Don't go too far. It's not terribly warmed up your leg. But do a couple of openings. You might have found you've gone out to the side. Try and draw the foot forward so that your hip is in line with your leg. And then once you find as far as you can go to, just hold the big toe there. If you're finding the balance difficult, use your other hand to prop you up so that you can find a nice long spine again. You can also always use a chair or a wall here. Holding and just taking a couple of breaths. Close your eyes if you can. Find that connection between your fingers and your big toe in your mind's eye. And take a couple of breaths. And then let that foot come down. And we move to the other side. So bringing your left leg in, same thing, couple of squeezes first of all, just bringing the leg in and out. Have a little roll through, flex and point that foot. Get some movement into the leg, prepare it. Also, we're sending messages, we're wakening up that area, saying we'll do something here in a minute. So the body doesn't always feel that it's quite ready to do some of these movements and positions we put it into. Taking the fingers through, having a little play with it, first of all, just drawing in and out. Finding that balance so that you can lift up through your spine if you can. Drawing in the tummy to support the lower back. That is important, remember, we have a lot of support there in the front of us. Then stretch the leg out and hold. Close the eyes if you're comfortable to do so. Take a few deep breaths. And that connection again through these neural pathways from your big toe. You know that you're holding your big toe because there's messages going up and down through your spinal cord, a super highway, as we like to call it, up through to your brain. Through perhaps a little centre in there called the thalamus, which is a relay centre for some of these nerve tracts. There's so much going on, really, we're another universe basically inside us. Okay, so then pop the foot down to the floor. If you've got your straps handy, or if you can grab them, sorry, I did say last night to have them handy, but maybe I forgot this morning. Just going to play with the strap in boat. So instead of holding the big toes, you can, if you haven't got the strap and you want to go for it, you can take your big toes and do 2 big toes at once if you can. Excuse me. I'll hold my feet up. Okay, so otherwise take the strap, sit back slightly on your sit bones, lift your feet off the floor. Your strap is around the ball of both feet, not your toes. And then reach away with your feet and come into supported boat this morning. So when you're in supported boat, you kind of have a wall behind you. You can reach up through your crown, draw your tummy in, draw your shoulders back. Keep your elbows tight to your side. You'll find the balance is easier then. Use your chin to support the head and find that length through the back of the neck. Oops. And breathe. And then take your feet down because I'm about to wobble and fall as well. Okay. Take the feet down, move the strap away. You don't need it now. Okay, so slightly different from that. If at any point you want to just move a little bit, you might want to do some windscreen wipers here just to move through the hips, and the lower back will then get a little bit of release through the massage. Taking the right foot in, grabbing it, again, grabbing your big toe here. But to do that, you might find you've had to put the knee out a little bit. That's fine because we want that. If you haven't, take your arm down the inside of your foot to grab your big toe and have your knee on the outside of your elbow. We're going into half happy baby. Again, using the other hand to support you here by lifting up. Lift the foot then, and this time the knee isn't coming towards your chest, it's going backwards under your arm here. Oh, that word's coming in a lot today. And the foot is flexed and the ankle is in line with the knee. But you're drawing that knee and thigh back again, that's the feeling. So half happy baby, so another hip opener, but because you're doing this, you're out to the side, you're slightly opening up different muscles and different areas where the muscles feed through your hips. So you're releasing some of those pathways again, any of the nerves that can get trapped. The sciatic nerve does have a difficult journey through the hip, and that does get trapped quite often. Okay, and then take that foot down. We're going to take the other leg, same thing, happy baby that side. Arm is inside. Lift the foot flexed. Draw that thigh back then as much as you can towards your body, but under your armpit. And then make sure you lift up through the spine as much as you can. And then release. Just for fun, if you want to give it a go, take both toes and bring your feet in a little bit closer, you find it, and lift up whichever one you feel you want to lift first, and come into full happy baby seated. You might want a chair or a wall behind you here. See what you can do there. Have a little play with it. Just see if you can hold and breathe. I wouldn't shut your eyes in this one particularly, but you might want to give it a go. Finding that balance point's the important point there. Okay, so bringing the legs out now. We're going to go into Janu Sirsasana, which is head to knee pose. So we're taking the right foot in, folding it into the inside of the thigh. Your hips should feel open after this. We haven't moved much, but we will feel it. Okay, so lifting up through the spine, from the base of the spinal column, the tailbone, reach up through, draw the tummy in. Make sure you're facing that front foot. So draw that foot back towards you, switch on the long leg. Not really using the other leg, but that's the one that we're opening here. So drawing in through the tummy, move forward as if you were vaulting a fence. So you're not rolling down here, you're reaching forward towards your big toe again, really. So it's head to knee once we roll into it. But here we're reaching first of all. So the heart's going forward towards the foot that's coming back towards it. Or the head, the forehead's going towards the big toe. And then draw it in the tummy, draw it in the chin, and just allow yourself to roll down gently until you're starting to face down towards your knee and shin. When you get to your stopping point, still things are switched on here, although you've rolled, but just allow yourself to then switch the breath on, if you haven't already, and breathe. So 3 nice deep breaths here. And I particularly always know where I have dull points in the muscles in the back of my lower back, and this is one that really works for them. Gently moving back up. I'm going to take that to the other side. So same thing, you switch on the long leg, you switch on your spinal column, reaching up through. Both hips feel nice and heavy. You're reaching forward first of all as if you're vaulting. So we're moving over the hip flexors. Head coming towards your foot. And then tucking the chin, tucking the belly, allow your spine to roll into that cat back feeling. And looking down, not towards yourself here, you're still looking towards the knee and the shin area. Take 3 deep breaths, actually focusing on your breath here. On the exhale, see if you can just release a little bit more through anything that's holding. So having done my back the other day there, I do now believe what they say. They used to put you on your back, didn't they? I didn't do it really badly, but they used to say lie down still. Roll back up when you're ready out of that one. Just gently come up through and take your feet into Padhungustasana. I'll continue my conversation once we can move on. So in Padhungustasana, take your hands if you can, and some of you might have to just hold the side of your legs or your ankles, but if you can, put them under the outside edge of your feet. And then pop your feet back together. So your fingers are kind of feeling trapped under your feet then. And then think of opening up the front body by lifting up through from the spine to the crown. Close the eyes, tuck the tummy, tuck the chin, and then roll down gently from the base of the spine. Allow yourself to roll down into Padhungustasana, bowing forwards. As you do that, you might can use your elbows to just gently open up through your hips a little bit more by pressing into your legs slightly. And when you get to your stopping point, hold and focus on your breath again. Take 3 or 4 deep breaths. So yeah, they now say move if you have lower back issues that are within reason, obviously. And I did keep myself moving, and it definitely works. It's far better than staying still. If it's just a pull or something, it's definitely better to keep yourself gently moving and keep those pathways open, basically, muscle-wise as well as neural. Okay, so then coming back up very gently from your tailbone, start to stack back up. Take the feet out in front of you. Put your hands behind you and just legs out or legs in, probably legs out for me because I can feel in my back, that's the way I need to do it. Just have a rock from side to side through your hips. And then coming back up to seated, we find ourselves in Dandasana, staff pose. So we've got legs out in front of us, feet are flexed and big toes are coming towards us. Spine is nice and long, we're reaching up through the crown, tummy is pulled in, Dandasana staff pose. Going to go into Paschimottanasana from here, lots of Sanskrit this morning. We're going to draw our tummies in, we're going to reach forward again as if you were going over that hurdle with both sides of your body this time. So you're reaching forward, hands can be in the floor or on your thighs if you want a bit of extra support here. So you're reaching, crown is moving straight out from the base of your spine is the feeling you want to feel. You're getting a lot of space in the back and the front of your body here. Just keep breathing nice and deeply. If you find any of these quite difficult to hold, use your breath to work with you. And then gently tuck the tummy, tuck the chin, and roll down again to look down towards your knees. Allow your body to soften. Instead of going back, see if you can just soften forward maybe. Watch the back of your thighs, so just be careful of hamstrings here, they're not open and warm. Just allow yourself to open to where you're comfortable. Maybe pop your hands down on your legs again, then have a little bit of a support there. If you can reach really forward down to your feet without overdoing it, then maybe you can open up a little bit more through the upper back as well as the lower back. Find your breath, breathe deeply. Sorry, I should have said, for those of you that find this one difficult, you can't always soften your knees. A bit late now, but you can keep your knees bent in that one if you do find that one difficult. And one way to come into that is to bend your knees and then just slowly allow your legs to open. But we're past that now anyway, so let's just roll up, tuck the tummy, use the hands to support you, roll up through the spine from the base, think of stacking everything back up to the top and coming up to seated in Dandasana again. So we're going to move back down to the floor now just to finish. Have your one brick handy if you can please before you roll down. So just grabbing a hold of your brick and having it beside you before we go down to the floor. And then carefully take yourself down onto your back again. Surprisingly stiff. Okay, so knees bent, feet flat on the floor, arms down by your side. We're going to move as if you're walking. So you're taking your right foot out, and at the same time you're taking your left arm up. And it can come just as far as you want. If you can take it right over your head towards the floor, great. If you can't, then please don't go too far. Bring both back in and take the opposite sides out. So you're taking your left foot out now and your right arm up. Start moving fluidly when you're ready. So it's just rolling through. So as one movement stops, the other one starts. Just warming up a little bit some of those muscles. It might feel you've done a yin class this morning in some of the muscle, some of the joint areas. And then bring out your left leg, bring up your left arm, so the same side, and have a bit of a stretch through your left side body. Bring them back in, take a stretch through your right side body. And then a stretch through both sides of you. Reaching up through fingertips from the soles of the feet, through the crown. Drawing everything back to centre. Bringing your feet in, we're going to take a couple of bridge rolls here. Now be gentle here because we've done a lot of forward folding this morning. So this is counter pose, but you have to take it easy to flex in the opposite direction, just in case your body gets a shock. So feet flat on the floor, heels as near your hips as you can get them, knees hip distance apart. Find the pelvic area and your pelvic tilt there. So use the base of your spine to roll through. Do a little tilt on the floor, maybe just to rock through that area of your spine. And then when you're ready, we find the breath again. As we inhale, we press into the feet, press into that big toe, connect with the big toe. As you start to lift up gently, just a very easy opening one to start, because the spine has been in that opposite direction quite a lot this morning, rolling back down to the floor. As you inhale, you start to move up, taking it very easy. So the back bend is our counter pose to the forward fold that we've been doing this morning. The spinal column has to move in different directions, we know that, all the different directions. But inside that is your spinal cord, so you've got to be very careful that you don't damage bits of you that you can't actually see. And then after the next one, roll back down. Have a little windscreen wiper again if you feel anything that you need to do. Now we're going to finish in Viparita Karani, legs up the wall, using the brick. So press through your feet, lift up your hips, pop your brick on the lowest, on that hard area of your pelvis and the back of your body, so where there's a plate of bone, it feels like. And then gently bring in one at a time, remember, to save that SI area. Bring in your right leg in towards you, your left leg in towards you, and then lift the feet up one at a time till they're facing the ceiling. It doesn't matter if your knees are bent. If anybody doesn't really like this on the lower back with the brick, please go back down, take the brick out, and just take legs up the wall lying on the floor. Supported way just tips the spine slightly and gives you a little bit more of an inversion feeling. If you don't like inversions, please just stay down in Shavasana. If it gives you a head rush feeling, certainly you should never have it do this with low blood pressure or high blood pressure. But none of you are in that case, hopefully, not that I know of. Okay, so gently pressing through the sole of the feet then, see if you can lift up throughout of the hips, make the legs feel lighter. Look up towards your big toe, have a little wriggle of them. And then close your eyes and see if you can settle for 5 or 6 breaths. Just take a few minutes here before we move on. And as you do, with your eyes closed, travel down through, from your big toe, down through your ankle, your knees, both sides, down through into your hips, moving towards the base of your spine, travelling up through the spine, thinking of the spinal cord that's taking all those messages up and down, even as we just lie here, up and down into the brain. The brain having its communication centre there that then decides what to do with the messages. Or the messages may start with the brain, telling the nerves what to do. So these nerves work on our senses, tell us about touch, etc., pressure, where our body is, proprioception. They tell us about pain, they tell us about temperature, they tell us about the environment around us, not just within us. So healthy nerves are really important in how we can function successfully in life. So you can lie here if you want to for a little bit longer, otherwise take your legs down one at a time, bend your knees, and then take the feet to the floor one at a time. Lift your hips, take the brick away. Just find yourself in Shavasana, have a stretch out there for a second or two. before we slowly move back up to finish class. So take your time, don't rush, have a stretch, make sure your body feels ready to move. When it is, come back up and find yourself in Shavasana. So while you're doing that, just I thought the first of two classes here that we're looking at, and the next time we'll look more at how this neuroplasticity, that's a big buzzword at the moment in yoga, and how yoga works to grow our brains. And this is scientifically proven now. So we'll go into that next week, but really interesting stuff. Until the 1960s or 70s, quite recently for most of us, scientists believed that the brain structure and function was essentially fixed by the time we got to adulthood. That in childhood it obviously grows and learns things, everything starts to connect. But they've now found since the 1970s just that that's not the case, that our brain continues to evolve, ever evolving, and just a little bit like our yoga practice. So next week we'll go into this in a little bit detail, but in a slightly more active way, probably. Thank you for being with me this morning. Those of you that could make it, those of you that couldn't, sorry to hear of various issues. Hope you've enjoyed the video though still, and we'll see you next week when I'm in France. So namaste, everybody.